Hey everyone, join me now for a live Q&A with Mike Murphy, the author of The Creation Frequency. This is the extraordinary story of a man who went from being alcoholic, down and out, cheated on his wife wouldn't have anything to do with them, to transforming his life, getting his wife and his daughter back, and becoming a multimillionaire and living the life of his dreams. You don't want to miss this. So Mike has a beautiful healing facility down in Medellin, Colombia. He also wrote one of the best books on law of attraction that I've ever read. It's forwarded by Jack Canfield. And it's a very, very simple book. It's his life story. He was so down and out when he was younger. He had an alcohol problem. He was working at a restaurant that was, he was making it on tips at a restaurant that he didn't like. His wife had kicked him out. He had a little daughter. He desperately wanted to get them back. And he ran into the mystery man. And the mystery man taught him the law of attraction in 7 one-hour sessions. And he was so broke that he literally had to hold the driver's side door closed with his arm as he was driving to do his appointments. So it's a very tiny book. It's so worth it. Go on Amazon, go on Audible, get the book. So we just wanted to create an environment here where people could come in with their questions. Mike is doing tremendous stuff. He just got approval to do stem cell therapy down at his beautiful healing resort down in Medellin, Colombia. I went down there personally and visited it. It's so soothing. It's so relaxing. But we just wanted to talk about various ways that, you can up-level your life quickly, whether it's by taking some time to go to a place like Mike or reaching out to somebody like me who helps people reprogram their subconscious mind quickly and easily. But we just wanted to create this environment here where people could ask their questions and get their questions answered live with this event. So, Mike, I just want to pass it over to you so you can...
Well, you're doing that. I'll elaborate a little bit on the book, The Creation Frequency, and what impact it had on my life. I was 23 years old about 23 years old at the time. And I was in a 12-step program. Really, my addiction was cocaine. Back in the 80s, it was pretty popular. And a friend of mine said, hey, I've never met anybody as messed up as you, but I know somebody might be able to help you. And he introduced me to a man. When I wrote the book, I couldn't remember his name, so I called him the Mystery Man. Then I did some research. His name is Doug Fitzgerald. Turns out he was studying Silva mind control. I didn't know it at the time. He said, come here 1 hour a week for 7 weeks, Mike, and you'll get everything you want. So each week we would set a powerful intention. He said, if you want a balanced life, you have to break it into areas, right? So physical, relationships, work, financial, fun, all that kind of stuff. And so each week we would write a powerful intention. He said, what do you want most in your life? I said, I want my wife and my daughter back, because I had walked out on them and left them. And we'd been divorced for 2 years at that time. So I started writing a powerful intention with his guidance that Lisa and I are so happily married. Our daughter, Michelle, thrives in this marriage. And as I'm writing, I know this woman hates my guts, but as I'm writing it, I got a little sense of hope. So I kept coming back, and it was $50 a week, and I didn't have 50 cents at the time. But he taught me that, I create 6 intentions. Week 7 was the magic week, okay? Now keep in mind, I don't have a clue what's going on. I don't understand the subconscious mind. I don't understand anything. And he brought out a boom box, and he put in a cassette tape with theta brainwave music on it. Then he brought out a cassette player, a tape recorder, and he handed me a microphone. And then he handed me a 2-page relaxation script. He says, here's what I want you to do, Mike. I want you to read into the microphone the relaxation script and your 6 intentions. And by the way, my intentions were either a paragraph or 2 paragraphs long. It doesn't take a lot to really manifest the life of your dreams, right? So I record the relaxation script while the theta brainwave music is playing in the background, and I record my 6 intentions. So I leave there 7 weeks later, $350 poorer, with a cassette tape. And he says, you want to listen every morning right when you're waking up, because you're coming from delta brainwave, the theta to alpha, and you want to listen in that theta alpha state. And every night before you go to bed, you're going from beta to alpha to theta, then to delta. So you want to get in that theta alpha state. What I didn't know at the time, I know now, he was putting me in a self-hypnotic trance. When that happens, you can pierce the conscious mind and get into the subconscious mind, which has been programmed from birth to age 8 by other people. So what I started to do was reprogram my subconscious mind with what I truly wanted for my life. And I started listening every morning, every night. And I wasn't religious about it. I would miss days at a time, but I kept coming back to it. One of the intentions was to own my own business. Within 4 months, I owned my own restaurant. And I had no credit but bad credit. I was deeply in debt, living on someone's couch. Within 2 years, the woman that hated my guts called me up and asked me on a date. We got remarried, and we had 3 more beautiful children, and we created a beautiful life together for 16 years. So this works. This is the way the universe works. We go out here. I'm in this beautiful 20-acre farm here in Colombia. If I go out and I take a seed, okay, and I plant it in the ground, I'm going to bear some sort of fruit or vegetable, or if it's an acorn, I'm going to get an oak tree. It just takes longer. This is how everything in the universe works. When we were conceived, the sperm hit the egg, and boom, that was the intention for us to get here. So we have to understand this is how everything works. The problem is we live in a microwave society, and everybody wants what they want now. We don't even go get our food anymore. We call DoorDash. I mean, the world is getting crazier and crazier by the minute. But the truth of the matter is this will work, and you have to just stick with it. But it requires a little work. Like I'm manifesting this beautiful healing resort here in Medellin, Colombia. I've been doing it for 6 years, and it's taken on many different changes because I'm not attached to the outcome. I had a very specific thing, what I wanted to create, but it keeps evolving because I'm co-creating it with the creator of all that I call God. And so every day it becomes a little bit better, okay? And it's extremely hard work, one of the hardest things I've ever done, but I'm not attached to the outcome, so I let it keep flowing and flowing and flowing. And all of a sudden we have this amazing business flowing here. So anyways, I'll let you get back at it, Tara.
Hey guys. Studies are showing that 68% of people that watch podcasts regularly don't click the subscribe button. Do me a huge favor. If you like this content, click subscribe so other people know where to go for the cool stuff. Thank you. Thank you so much. For those of you that haven't heard Mike's story directly from the book or on Audible, it's so worth it. It's so inspiring. We'd love to open it up to questions if anybody has any questions. As you probably know, I've been helping people go into their subconscious mind and help them rewrite those programs. We have people on the call who have done my process. Nan, who was addicted to sugar her entire life. I've worked with other people that were attacked by Rottweilers and had choking disorders and all kinds of fear issues, PTSD issues. And then in a few sessions, they're like, wait a minute, it can't be this easy. I'd done all these other things and now these issues are no longer part of my life. So we really wanted to create this environment where people could speak out directly and have their questions answered.
I'm from Colombia, so I did hear the podcast episode with Tara and was very amazed. But I wanted to ask you, how has it changed in its form since you first thought out of the idea? I'm very curious about that.
You're talking about our wellness resort here?
Yes, you mentioned that it has changed in different ways that you didn't expect, and you've been open to how it would transform. So I'm just curious about how.
Yeah, so you have to understand that my background is I'm an automobile dealer. I started as a car salesman and manifested my own dealerships and became very successful in the San Francisco Bay Area for 30 years. So I don't know anything about what I'm doing here. And now I've learned over the last 6 years. So my first vision would be retreats. We would do healing retreats. I would charge the wealthy and we'd give scholarships to the poor because I had started a nonprofit foundation in the San Francisco Bay Area providing grants to women below the poverty line while they battled cancer. Why? Because I'd lost my 38-year-old wife to breast cancer in 2011, and she was diagnosed in age 29. So I'd seen this medical mess, okay? And I worked with hundreds of women, one-on-one, face-to-face, while I'd give them a grant each month to help them financially while they went through this. And I realized this system didn't work. So I wanted to, and a lot of those women wanted to go natural treatment. So I wanted to build a place like that. So I thought we would do retreats. Well, little did I know as how much work it was to hold a retreat. The first one I did, I'm holding a container of 13 people. I'm not equipped for this. I don't have the background for this, right? And so I had to go so deep within myself, and I became so exhausted. But more importantly, it's very difficult to sell retreats. Like we might have one coming up in 2 weeks and we got one person. Okay. So it just wasn't a good thing. So I go, okay, now we're going to create a 1 week program, a 2 week program, a 3 week program, and a custom program for people that are really sick. Well, that became quite difficult. So what happened was a doctor found me to want to run the business. I said, I don't need a doctor to run my business. I need a business person to run my business. Well, she insisted. And so I hired her, and she's turned out to be a godsend, just what I needed at the exact time that I needed it. So now we've taken what used to be when I bought it, it was a jacuzzi room with a pool table. Then we started doing ayahuasca in it. And then we started doing yoga in it. And now we've just spent over $120,000, I think, to turn it into a medical wellness center. We just had our hyperbaric chamber delivered yesterday. We just got approval with the National University of Columbia, who's been growing stem cells and exosomes for 20 years. They just partnered with us. So now we can provide these stem cells, exosomes, probably 50, 60, 70% for less money than anybody else can. And you get to stay in our amazing facility. So we prepare your body before you get these, and we take care of you afterwards. Our general manager, who's also a doctor, just spent 3 hours in surgery just a few days ago with one of our clients that was having knee surgery. She was in there the whole time, videotaped it so she could show him. And at that time, we gave him the stem cells and the exosomes. So that's how it's changed, and I just go with the flow and doing this, but when things aren't working, we have to make adjustments. So I created an intention to create a retreat center in Medellin, Colombia 6 or 7 years ago. Now it's this amazing medical wellness resort hotel that's just going to serve so many people. And it's gotten easier for me. I don't have to hold this container of 13 people every 2 weeks, which was very, very tiring. So, God is good. And God, if we let go and let go of the attachment to the outcome it's kind of like, there's a great book called The Surrender Experiment. I read it maybe 8, 9 years ago. And it's just letting go and throwing yourself into the river of life and letting it go where you want. You create intentions, but you let go of the outcome, and God and you will create something that's supposed to be. I hope that helps.
So beautifully said. And it's not easy all the time, is it, Mike? I mean, sometimes you feel like, oh my gosh, and how do you course correct? It's like a rocket ship going to the moon. You've got to keep course correcting.
This is the hardest thing I've ever done in my life by far. And I've had so many lifetimes, it's not even funny. But here's what I just came up with the other day. It's okay to quit. Just don't give up. Because I've quit this project so many times out of frustration, out of bad this, bad that. But sometimes I quit for 5 minutes and sometimes I quit for 24 hours. But I always get back up. I dust myself off and I get back up. So it's okay to quit. Just don't give up. That's my new mantra. And now things are going so well, I have no desire to quit. I'm so now I wake up at 6 a.m. and I'm up till 10 p.m. because I'm so excited about what we're doing. But there were some dark nights of the soul in creating this, and the money. I mean, I've never had a business that lost money, and the money I've sunk into this thing was getting frightful. But the truth of the matter is, I never gave up.
So great. And what's so awesome for you guys is you're listening to Mike, and he was the guy that was the broke waiter at a restaurant that he hated, who was fighting alcoholism, lost his wife, who hated his guts and didn't want him back. And he just applied these tools, and they're simple. It's the tiniest little book ever. And he gave it to me as a gift as I was leaving Medellin. I read it on the airplane. I'm like, oh my God, this is like the best book on law of attraction I've ever read. Why? Because it's so simple, but you have to do it. And like Mike says, most of us never do it. You have to write down the language in a really juicy present. And there on page 33, there's 7 quick rules to writing those words down. That that it's got to be emotional. It's got to be in the present moment. It's got to be. Mike, do you remember them all off your top of your head?
No negativity. It has to be real enough to pierce the conscious mind. For example, what do I mean? I'm 67 years old. if my intention is to play quarterback for the San Francisco 49ers, it's never going to get past the conscious mind into the subconscious mind. So it's okay to have these great dreams, but then we got to bring them down into more reality, right? And one of the greatest books ever written is called Think and Grow Rich. But I love the book, but I hate the title because that implies that we don't have to work, okay? We have to get off the damn couch and we got to put in, you know, a lot of times when I'm manifesting something, God will just give us the plan. Like, let's say I want a new car. Okay, I'm not going to wake up tomorrow and there's a new car in my driveway. We're not that advanced. I'm not saying that won't happen someday, but right now we're not that advanced. But what will happen is I will get the plan to be able to get the new car. And that's what the law of attraction really is. We have to do some work.
Well said. Really well said. Action, action, action.
So I've spent quite a bit of time, reflecting on the concept of intentions and manifestation. And I struggled with the idea to the extent that, one, I wasn't clear on what I wanted and became comfortable with the fact that I'm pretty happy with where I'm at. So why look for something that I'm not authentically aligned with, number one. Number two, to the extent that I do have formulate a clear intention of something that I want, struggling with the idea of wanting something is outside of myself and what I have, and that in of itself creates a separation. So I'm just curious to get your thoughts on the concept of intention, of seeing myself as something other than what I am, to the extent that I am that other, but not fully who I am in my current state of being. So am I just going to be something else other than what I don't know if I'm being clear on this, but the struggle is with the separation aspect of it. If I'm whole as I am, why would I want to be anything or anywhere or do anything else other than where I am and how I'm in my current state of being?
So you just asked me a question. I'll ask you to answer that same question.
Sure. I
would. You're right now, and why would you want anything else? Is basically what I heard.
That's correct.
So are you content being whole right now?
Absolutely.
Well,
so
and happiness.
So I'll add a twist to my own answer, because I just had a situation. I have a real situation I'm dealing with as it relates to a business person, and there is a conflict that exists. So a conflict can exist without there being some aspect of separation in the fact that we aren't kind of in agreement. So to the extent there's an infinite number of answers or scenarios to every situation, including an infinite numbers of me, right? To the extent that I tune into whoever that is that I am, then that's what I am when I'm tuned in. So I started thinking, well, is that essentially a form of intention, seeing a favorable outcome to the situation as if it already exists and feeling that outcome?
So let me say this. First of all, Tara said the book is very simple. It's because I have an 8th grade education, and you sound highly educated to me.
I've read the book.
Okay.
And given it to all my kids.
All right, good. Thank you. So it's a simple book because I'm a simple person, because I'm not highly educated. I didn't go to college. I didn't do all that stuff, right? But here's what I believe. I believe that everything in our life came the route of the law of attraction. Everything starts as a thought and a desire before it comes into our physical reality. Everything. Okay, I can't think of one thing in my life that didn't start as a thought and desire. So the law of attraction is a constant, okay? The problem is we don't know how to use it. And I would suggest to you that it sounds to me like you have a very content life, but is it in the head or is it in the heart? You know, I always tell people we're going to have to make that short 18-inch journey at some point in our life. And what happens is when we're kids, we're living from this heart, okay? And we're living from the spirit. I mean, we have imaginary friends. Many of us still remember where we came from before we took on this animal body, okay? But what happens is we get hurt, so we flee up here and we try to rationalize all this bullshit, right? And so then we get stuck here. I call it the psychopath, the committee of psychopaths, when I live in my head. So what I've learned is I got to take this 18-inch journey back into my heart and start to feel. You know, I think it was Descartes said, I think, therefore I am. I say, no, I feel, therefore I am. Because we're taught not to feel as children, especially males, right? But this here, I can manipulate you, I can lie to you, I can take advantage of you, I can do so many things. But from here, I can't. This is my essence, this is my soul, this is my purity. So when I'm living from here and I say, okay, what would feel great? What would make me feel great in my life? And then I can use this supercomputer to manifest what it is I truly desire. So you're just a little too complicated for me to really make clear. And please don't take that offensive. It's not meant that way. But I just feel like, you know, there's a lot of spirituality. There's a lot of mysticism, what you're talking about, which I can totally relate to. But we also have to take that. We have to live in this 3D reality as well. This is why it's so difficult. We're spirit, we're energy, we're eternal time consciousness, but we're stuck in this animal body. We urinate, we fornicate, we defecate, but we're in this animal body, but we're eternal timeless consciousness. And that's what we have to remember. But that's what makes it so difficult to be able to play in both of these genres. And as the world is becoming more and more complicated and the truth is becoming more and more evident and people are becoming more and more anxious and confused, at least we're waking up to, wow, something is going on here. And when we can get back into this heart and reconnect to our soul, reconnect to our creator, when I believe there's a little piece of the creator in each one of us, when we can reconnect with that, then life tends to flow easily and we're more on point. Does that make sense to you at all?
It makes more sense than you can imagine. And the last thing I am is insulted by what you said. In fact, I am the first to admit that whenever I find myself in a challenging situation, it's almost always a result of being stuck in my head. And in fact, just this morning, I mean, I literally wrote about it. This is how easy it is to forget. I mean, I wrote about it like within 15 minutes ago, and I left my heart and went right back to my head. And so in my meditation this morning, I was on the verge of crying because I started to remember how vital it is for me to learn to love myself and how easy it is to forget that's all I need to do. And so I immediately go into a mode of thinking and just, it's literally like a perpetual tug of war between the heart and the brain. And I saw a physical brain. I shared this last week. I saw a physical brain in the nerve tour that Gil Headley did last week in Boston. In the head, the brain is completely engulfed in a thin layer of heart nerves. So literally our brain is engulfed in our heart, and yet it still is elusive and does all it can for that ego to live. And so I appreciate the reminder.
And thank you for sharing that. I will just remind everybody, being human is not easy. One of my favorite books that I read a long, long time ago is The Road Less Traveled by M. Scott Peck.
I just finished it.
Okay. And
like yesterday.
This is synchronicity, right? So the opening line is life is difficult. And we're taught life is supposed to be easy and stay away from the negative. No, life is freaking hard. Okay. Children get cancer. My spouse died at 38. Life is difficult. And that's why we need community. And that's why they use divide and conquer. We need to come together and support one another when life is difficult. Because when my life is good, I can lift you up. There's 8 billion people of us in the world today. If 4 billion of us would lift up someone less fortunate, this whole thing stops and we bring heaven back onto earth. We need to remember that we're all connected. And that's a fact now. With quantum physics and energy and understanding what's going on, we are all connected. That's why they say, I'm in South America, if a butterfly flaps its wings, you're going to feel it up there in California. You know, that's the energy that we're talking about. And that's the energy that when we tap into it, we become a superpower.
Love it.
Oh.
Actually, I just interviewed Joe Vitale, and I asked him, when somebody's down and out, what are 3 things that you would recommend? And lifting another person up was one of those 3 things.
Amen. And then let me add one other thing that I think is so crucially, because Mark brought up the ego, right? How do you get rid of the ego? Do something for someone every day anonymously, okay? And your ego will dissipate.
John Wooden said, no day is perfect unless you've done something for somebody else they can't possibly repay.
He was a pretty good coach.
He was. I got to interview Jamal Wilkes, and we spent the entire hour talking about John Wooden, and Jamal was ecstatic because of just how highly he thought of him. Thank you so much, Mark. Glad that was helpful. That's what we're here to create, is just this fish tank where we can, make some real-time miracles here.
So I want to go back to the point that you made about taking action with manifestation. So this is something where I feel like I struggle in finding this delicate balance of like having a strong intention, but not over intending, and then allowing the surrender piece to come in. I think I understand that balance looks different for everyone, but I would love to hear your opinion on like, something that you so strongly wanted, which it sounds like, you got with your family, getting back together with your wife and having this awesome life while she was still here. But how do you let go of that? And then how do you also live? Because, this big topic that we're talking about is like living with the wish fulfilled already, bringing that energy into you already. So kind of a twofold question, but I'm just curious how you mastered that surrendering piece and then acting like you already had it.
Well, I think one thing that we can do, all of us can do, is ask for help. So the way I journal is I start each morning with gratitude. Okay, and I pull out a journal and I write, thank you for my family, thank you for my health, thank you for my life, thank you for my business. And the next part is I ask for wisdom. Please give me wisdom. So whatever your question was right there, how can I get this right balance with manifestation? How much action do I need to take? Okay, I would say, please give me wisdom on how much action I need to take to manifest this intention in my life. And I'll ask God, I'll say, hey, I'm having struggle. What should I do with this child that I'm struggling with right now? And I would do all these questions, and there's answers. We have guides. We have loved ones that have passed over. There's help here. We're not alone. I'll never forget going to a Byron Katie 2-week school to work, and she taught us, how we're always supported here. But we get up here and we think what we're not. But the truth of the matter is, there's help right here in the field of infinite possibilities that we can ask for. You just got to go with your gut. You got to go with your heart. What feels right? Does this feel right to take this action to manifest this? Is there anything in your life right now that you're trying to manifest, that you're struggling with, how much you should work and how much you should let go?
Yeah, I'm overcoming a health challenge right now. And, my default is always do more, achieve more. And so I think that's why it's like, I'm like, oh, I'm doing so much every single day. I'm doing absolutely everything I can every single day. And, I'm working towards my goal, but I'm not there yet. And so I'm like, okay, maybe it's a control piece that I need to start to loosen up, rather than do.
So what I would do in a situation like that is I'd write a powerful intention and not give that health challenge any weight. I say, I love how healthy I am. I love how my blood pressure is normal. I love how my prostate is normal. I love how everything in my life is working together. I love how my heart is full. I love how grateful I am. And notice the words I'm connecting here: love, gratitude. These are the power words, right? And then I would record that and I'd listen every morning and every night. And you're going to get the answer. You just stay present in the present moment. Stay out of here and get into here, and it's going to come to you. We're designed to be healthy. The body is designed to be healthy. We live in a very toxic world today, and we live in a very unfair world where we're being lied to and we're being told this is good for us and it's not. But we know intuitively, we know what's good for us. We just have to sit there and feel it, what's right for us. And the answers will come, believe me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. No, thank you for that. And I'm also wondering, just following up on that, then, like, you know, as you go throughout your day, like you journal, you meditate, you pray, you receive guidance, then is that enough to keep you in that energy of like your manifestation already fulfilled? Or is there other things throughout the day? Like, I mean, personally, for me, it's super hard because what I'm manifesting is like something in my physical body that looks totally different than what it looks like right now, right? So it's like these constant reminders from everywhere I go to everything I do to every conversation that I have. And I feel like I'm hitting a wall with like, okay, how do I act like I'm not in this situation, but I'm in this situation in 3D?
Right. Right. And we have to deal with reality, right? So if something's going on in my body, right, then I'm going to Google it. I'm going to seek out experts. I'm going to figure out, okay, how can I fix this in 3D reality? At the same time, being conscious of my intention that I'm healthy and I'm manifesting. Because if I can believe that, if I can, you know, Dr. Joe teaches, you know, if we're in this field of infinite possibilities and we feel that perfect body, we feel that everything is flowing together, we manifest it in the field of infinite possibilities in our mind's eye and our spirit, and then we bring it into 3D reality. That takes work, okay? Mm-hmm. And that's a challenge, but that's much better than going, oh my God, I got this lousy illness, things don't go right for me, I don't know what to do, I'm trying to manifest health, but the reality is I'm sick or I got this issue or whatever it is. So we have to learn to play in both of those worlds, right? Mm-hmm. But the more I can manifest that I'm healthy and not give that illness power, right? One of the mistakes we made when my wife was sick with cancer, I believe we gave the cancer too much power. And we gave medicine too much power. And we kind of, you know, we were young and dumb and we got stuck into this trap, right? It's interesting when you're diagnosed with cancer. This was a 29-year-old woman. They wouldn't even give her time to freeze eggs. She never had a child. And you know, we got to start chemo tomorrow. Heck, I'd found the tumor 4 months prior, okay? And she's still healthy, okay? But now all of a sudden the medicine is involved. We got to start chemo tomorrow because they get you into the system. The truth of the matter is she could have waited. She could have frozen eggs, which would have been much more healthier for her outlook on the future of her life to keep living, right? So we have to be very, very careful where we get our information, who we listen to. And you have inside of you all the wisdom and all the strength to figure this out, okay? And you just got to stay out of the traps. And what do I mean by that? You have to be true to yourself. So do your research, talk to your experts, but then go inside through either prayer or meditation or contemplation, whatever it is that works for you, and figure it out. And remember this, okay? This vessel of a body is a temporary little vessel that we can house our soul and come down here and try to figure out this game of life out. And we came into this body, we're going to leave this body, and we are eternal timeless consciousness, and we can never die.
So good, Mike. Wow. I love how you've been able to elevate the people on the call so far.
I just spent 2 months ago 5 days in Georgia with this amazing man called Daniel Brinkley.
Oh my God, I love him.
Hey, well, I just spent 5 days with him in a house with 10 other people. We started a thing called the Lights of the Round Table. So anyways, this man was struck by lightning in 1975. He was clinically dead for like, I think 38 minutes, 28 minutes, something like that. He's since died 3 other times because of the damage from that lightning strike. He's now 73 years old, and this happened in 1975. But he says, and this, I wrote a book 2 years ago called Death, The Greatest Illusion, How You Can Never Die. I haven't published it yet. And so now I know why, because I met Daniel. And it's the first thing he says to people, the first time he meets, you are a powerful, mighty spiritual being with dignity and direction and purpose, and you can never die. And to be with this man, I mean, he's had so much happen to him. 4 times he's gone up there and worked with these light beings that taught him so much. And the last thing they taught him, they showed him what was going to happen in the future. And the last thing that humanity has to deal with is over healthcare. viruses and vaccines, which we're going through right now. But here's what he says, and this is what I want to share with you guys, because we're dehydrated and we don't have any minerals. There's no minerals in the food anymore because the soil is depleted. So this is a physical 3D thing, okay? The strength and the spirit, but we got to hydrate and we got to drink minerals. But more importantly, we are powerful spiritual beings that can never die. And we got to get in touch with that. When we get in touch with that, boom, everything starts to flow. We get in flow state and things get easier. So that's a big challenge, I know, for some, but it's the truth.
And on that note, I interviewed Mark Gober. If you want a really good book that capsulizes that, it's called An End to Upside Down Thinking. He is a summa cum laude graduate from Princeton, went to work on Wall Street, made a bunch of money, but he wasn't happy because he was a materialist. So he started listening to all these podcasts on spirituality, and he looked around and thought, wait a minute, the science on this is bulletproof. How come they're not teaching this at Princeton? So because he has the ability to go and suss out extremely high levels of information, because he's used to doing it for venture capitalists at the highest level, he's very good at taking very, very complex subjects and making them so a 10-year-old could understand them. So An End to Upside Down Thinking is wonderful. I'm looking at all of 6 of his books, that he autographed them all to me, and I've interviewed him twice. His last book is An End to Upside Down Medicine, which is also spectacular.
So I have a follow-up question. It's kind of a twofold question. I've listened and some of the responses have been helpful already. But one of the things I've had trouble addressing is breaking through with working on intentions. And I'm newer to this part of it. I've been on kind of a good year-long journey, but I'm having trouble breaking through with intentions where the subconscious will push back, whether that be around money, whether that be around certain beliefs you kind of have where, as you mentioned with the intention, if it were to be the quarterback of the Chicago Bears, outright unrealistic, my brain pushes back. But sometimes I feel like it holds you back internally from the things you actually want that are realistic, but yet you don't even go through with the intention for that reason, because you're like, that will never work for me kind of thing. Which second, that brings me to like when you do get some feedback, which I've received in albeit, roundabout kinds of ways, it feels a little more gut versus brain. How do you go about trusting that? Because I can't say that I've received an actual download or anything that's very explicit. My dreams don't make any sense kind of thing. So, but I do get feelings where this is what you should do, but they're always counter to what everybody else would do, right? So you're really pushing against the crowd plus yourself. So I probably could ask 5 more questions, but those are kind of my top 2 ones I have. And then I guess it brings it to a third is I'm fairly healthy and in pretty good shape, but I've gotten physical pushback too. So like whether that be a spontaneous back problem, old injuries cropping up while I'm at kind of my peak shape anyways, even though I'm getting older, I'm actually in better shape. So 3 levels of that pushback. I'm just curious how you go about overcoming. So I'll end it there. Thank you.
Could you give me an example of something that you want to manifest right now, an intention that you'd like to manifest into your life?
Yeah, I would say, what my big struggle is trying to find a new path, both financially and, occupationally, right? So I kind of I'm in the point of making a change, but I'm struggling to commit to the change, right? So like, I kind of feel like I know what I want to do, but it requires kind of a wholesale change, and you get pushback physically, emotionally, and then from society, right? Like, you should be doing this because this is the right thing to do, but my gut is saying this is where I'm better served, but it comes with a lot of fear, right? So that's what I'm trying to get past.
Exactly. That's exactly what I was going to say. It's just fear-based, right? So you have to so I would do something like, I'd write an intention, okay? And I love how I'm able to become clear of what it is I want to do with my life. And I love how these ideas come to me, either in the middle of the night through a dream, or through someone I talk to, or something I read, or something I watch. I am so grateful that this clarity continues to expand, and I'm able to see my way now of what it is, my purpose, what my highest purpose is, and why I'm here. I am so grateful for this gift, and I'm so grateful to be clear as to what it is I want and be able to step into that with great power, with great love, with great gratitude. Thank you for giving me this gift of clarity and showing to me what it is. Now, you still might be confused. You still might be dealing with fear, but you start reprogramming the mind and, more importantly, the subconscious mind. There's a great book. I love this book. I've probably read it 5 times. It's called The Power of Your Subconscious Mind by Joseph Murphy. If you read this book, trust me, you're going to believe in the power of the subconscious mind, and you're going to believe in how powerful you are and how you're here to create miracles. And how I can't believe that this gentleman that was speaking earlier just finished the book, The Road Less Traveled. This is how my life works. These synchronicities are nonstop. But it's the power of the subconscious mind, because there's only one mind. Okay, we all have a brain that takes care of this physical stuff, but there's one mind, just like there's one heart, just like there's one energy, okay? And when we tap into the subconscious, we're tapping into all the subconsciouses. You know, King Solomon said there's nothing new under the sun. It's all right here. This is what I love about the work of Dr. Joe Dispenza. The field of it's all right here. It's all in the field right here. And the answers are there. But if you can say, just be thankful for this clarity and know that it's going to happen, and start believing like that and start vibrating. We haven't talked about frequency, but we start vibrating at these frequencies that we're trying to attract. And then guess what? Like-minded people show up. The right book shows up. The right funding shows up. The right idea shows up. You know, I manifested my restaurant. So I'm meeting the mystery man. Believe me, I'm the biggest loser on the face of the earth, okay? But I'd worked in a fried chicken place called Foster Farms in California as a kid. And so I'd meet the mystery man. My second intention was to own my own business. And so here's out of business 3 times. These people have failed in a fried chicken place, right? And it's closed, it's broke, it's got a big landlord. The landlord is a guy that part of the Oakland Raiders. And I go, I'm going to get this restaurant, okay? I didn't know how. I had bad credit. I had no money. And guess what? An idea came. This is how life works. And the idea was, put an ad in the newspaper and raise the money. I mean, I'm just a young, dumb kid, right? And I'm going out there. And so I wrote a little business plan, and I go and meet these people, and I raise the money, and I open the restaurant. So we have to be conscious of the fact that it's all right here. We just got to ask, and we got to stay with it. Like I said earlier, don't give up.
I'm going to chime in on that too, since my specialty is helping people bypass the conscious mind and get to the subconscious mind. What's so brilliant about Mike's book is that when you write down those words in the present tense in really juicy language, and you just listen to it as you're drifting off to sleep. When I'm working with people one-on-one and help them find their biggest block, I create them an audio tape that, again, is customized, and it's all that juicy language that you're listening to as you fall asleep, and your subconscious mind will absorb it as long as it's written in a way that, again, is present tense. It's juicy. Your mind can hang on to it, and you don't have, as Mike said, something in there that's beyond ridiculous. If you're 80 years old and you want to be an NFL quarterback, you know, your brain is just going to kick that out. So you want to avoid putting stuff in there that, you know, your brain's going to kick out. You want to weasel it in a way that your brain can go, oh yeah, that's possible, and that's really juicy, and yeah, I like that. I'm going to take that in, and I'm going to execute that. And like Mike says, when you get on this treadmill towards positivity, you can just put it out there and realize that synchronicities are going to show up, opportunities are going to show up, and you can start eliminate. It's almost like weeding a garden. You eliminate the emotions that block you from that, and you start funneling in the emotions that elevate you. And that's really the key, wouldn't you say, Mike? To a huge degree, is just
instead of saying elevate you, I'd say raise your frequency. Mm-hmm. Because Tesla said we want to understand the universe. It's energy, vibration, and frequency. So when I can raise my frequency, and by the way, we have to raise it in the 3D world too. If we have a sick body, I always say, you know, Jesus came here with this great message, right? But if all he did was eat ding-dongs and ho-hos and fried chicken, he never got off the couch in Bethlehem.
And watch television.
Yeah, watch television and get programmed, you know. So we have to raise our frequency physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. And we start vibrating at that, you're going to be shocked at what happens. Synchronicities, serendipities, who shows up, what shows up. But more importantly, and what I love about when I'm at this point is the flow state. You know, sometimes I got to pinch myself and say, man, I just can't believe how easy this is getting, you know. And believe me, life is difficult. So when I'm in that flow state, I really appreciate it because I know it's not going to last. Okay. I wish I could go 24/7 every day, 365 days a year in flow state. I haven't been able to do that. But when I am there, I'm very, very grateful. And I just pinch myself.
Beautiful.
Mike, do you really mean that, Mike? That you wish you could stay in it 24 hours a day?
Oh, that's it. That's a good question, because then there would be no contrast, right? And so I wouldn't even recognize it. So that's a great observation and great question. So the answer is probably I don't.
Well, you know what's funny? If you think about what humans do in their free time, you know, they go to the movie and they, you know, witness overcoming incredible obstacles and difficulties. It's like that's part of the human condition. We seem to like to overcome things. So as to Mark's point, you know, if there was nothing to overcome, we wouldn't have the thrill of succeeding.
It would probably be boring. I want to share this story real quick. It was about, 7-8 years ago. And I end up in this crazy place in Costa Rica, and sitting at the table is Dr. Bruce Lipton. And I was at a point in my life right there, you know, I'd lost my wife. I was still suffering some grief, but I was really evolving. And I said to him, I said, you know, I got to be honest with you. I just as soon be out of body than in body. You know, I'm looking forward to getting out of this body and being free again. And he said, let me ask you one question, Mike. When you're out of body, can you taste chocolate? And what he was trying to say to me is we chose this for a purpose. You know, we chose this to come into this body, into this 3D reality called humanity in the world or whatever. And so that made a lot of sense to me. Like, I can't make love out of the body. I can't hold my lover's hand. So there's a lot of reasons that we choose this. I just did a reading here in Colombia, and they said it was my 131st incarnation. Now, whether that's true or not, I don't know. But I did ask, is this my last incarnation? And they said yes. So I was grateful for that. But because I believe that if we play this right, we're going to elevate into a higher frequency. I believe I was there for a brief second where we live in a light body, not an animal body, and we communicate telepathically rather than through words. And if you think about that, that's pretty close to perfection. But let's not go down that road.
Beautiful. Mike, this has been so delicious. I love this conversation that we've been having.
Thank you, Tara. Thank you for setting it up.
It's so magical when you can take that. Oh, you know what? I just sent this to Mark. I'll share it with you guys. I wonder if I can you see that? It says, you got the heart giving the brain a flower. Mm-hmm. It says, talk a little nicer to yourself today.
Yes. And look yourself deep in the eyes in the mirror and say, I love you. And that will really help your subconscious mind, access your subconscious mind.
And if you have a hard time with that, take notice of that too. Because we are so brutal and judgmental on ourselves. And believe me, I definitely went through that. I could not believe, as I was evolving through my life, how much self-criticism I had baked in. And it's really exhausting.
It made me think of something. So Daniel Brinkley, he talks a lot about when we get up there, we do a 360-degree life review. And he wasn't a very good guy. And that wasn't a very fun experience. So when you're with him, he gives you a hug that lasts a good 3, 4, 5 minutes because he knows he's going to be out of body and he's not going to be able to do that. So he's hugging himself so that when he gets up there and does that 360 life review, he's free, okay? And what we do here at Mountains of Hope in one of our ceremonies. It's called a fire ceremony, but it's a fire forgiveness ceremony. And we start getting rid of all that bullshit right now, making amends, forgiving ourselves, forgiving everybody else, so that when we do get out of this body, we go up there and we do this 360 life review, which I really believe will happen, is going to be much easier and much less stress.
And if we go through our lives realizing that we're going to have that life review at the end, you know, it just gives you such a better perspective. Like, how would I live this moment if I'm going to review it and judge myself as to or evaluate how well I did.
When he says the hard part is you're going to experience what it was like to be in the other person's shoes that you treated like garbage. So imagine that. Everybody you've hurt, you're going to feel their pain when you get there. And every time he's gone there, he's had to go through this. So that's 4 times for him. So he knows what he's talking about. By the way, the book is called Saved by the Light. And there's a movie on YouTube. It's free, called Saved by the Light. I really recommend this guy's work. And he's written other books too to really help us to go through this.
And I've interviewed probably a half a dozen people that had life-changing near-death experiences. It truly does radically change your perspective. It even changes your brain. I interviewed Jamie Wheel, who wrote Stealing Fire and Recapture the Rapture. And they've done studies of people that came back from these life-changing near-death experiences. And normally, a depressed person will go into REM sleep in about 60 minutes. A normal person, I think, takes about 70 minutes. A happy person, 80 minutes. Somebody's had a near-death experience. This takes like 90 minutes to go into REM. So they're like hyper happy because they just have this delicious experience that we're not these bags of flesh. We're spiritual beings having a physical experience, and let's make the most of it, because like Mike said, once you're not in body anymore, what's chocolate going to taste like? What is water going to feel like on your skin? What is it going to feel like to hug another person when you're not in that? So while you're here, just take advantage of it and enjoy it. And you'll notice that creates like a generator. The more you appreciate those things, the more you raise your vibration, the more you attract that stuff to you. Well, gosh, thanks everybody. I just so appreciate this phone call. I love these containers where we can help people in real time and have as close to a physical connection as we can, even though we're miles and miles and miles apart temporarily. Mike, thank you for being on the call. Is there anything you'd like to say to close out the call?
I would just like to say thank you to everybody for showing up, sticking around. It's been a blessing for me to share this information with you, and just realize that you're a powerful spiritual being, and try to stay in that heart.
Yeah, so many great tools. Plug into them, and like Mike said, don't give up. This podcast is intended for the purpose of providing information and education. It does not provide advice and is not meant to be used for any self-diagnosis or the replacement of any kind of licensed professional. The creators and individuals appearing here do not endorse any specific tests, positions, medications, products, or procedures. The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of any entities they represent.